Hi everybody, Grandad here again. What am I up to today? Well, today I'm investigating the mystery of what's in this box. Now this box I've had many years, and it had been lost, to me anyway, for about the last 10-12 years, and perhaps longer than that. And I've discovered it again. Now it's got some interesting things in it, which I thought I'd share with you. And maybe you can tell me if I'm correct or not of what the contents is. Now, it's an interesting box, and I don't know whether it was painted. It looks as if it was black, but it's gone very rusty, and it's got a rather unusual fastening on the front here, which is just a bar across, like a bolt, which is just a bit of brass wire, which is, shows it's quite old. So if I move that bar across, the lid comes off. Now, unfortunately, the lid had seized up. The hinges on the lid had seized up. So now the lid actually detaches from the box. Now, I may be able to try and repair that, I don't know. But the hinges have definitely seized up on there and will need a little bit of work. Now, the inside is white. It's been painted white. Now, whether that gives us any clue to what the contents are, I don't know. But the inside's painted white. Now, some of these items I have seen before many years ago, and I think I know what they are, but I'm not sure, and maybe if you know better, you can tell me. Now, the first one is a glass item, which I'll show you here now. There it is, and it's got a cork in this end, and a long cylinder, and a round bobbly bit in this end with a hole in it. Now, I think I know what this is, because I've seen one before, and in fact I looked up on YouTube, on the internet, and I found one very like this with this box. So I know what this is. This is for syringing ears. You put it in your ear with chemicals in, and you squeeze the syringe down, and so it's an ear syringe. So I'm pretty confident about what that one is, and I've got two of those. Unfortunately, it's seized up. The rubber is seized up in there, so I can't move it anymore. The top cork comes undone. I managed to get that free. I may try and free it so that it works properly, but I think I know what that one is. Now, I've got another glass item in here, which I'll show now. Now, this is a bit peculiar, and I want to pay special attention to this one, because I have no idea what it is. Now, it's a strange shape. It's got a bobbly sort of shape with a spouty end. Now, it appears to be broken. So I think there was more to this than what we can actually see. There was something on this end which made it a little bit longer, and perhaps a bobble or a fastener, I don't quite know. But the curious thing about it, it's got a flat bottom on it. Well, you can see that. It's got a flat bottom there. And it's got a dimple sticking up, like a raised piece just there. Hope you can see that. I got the light right. It's got a raised piece there and a dimple down there. So it's got a dent in there, which is very similar shape to the lump that's on this one. So that means it must have locked into something. Now, I can't imagine what that would lock into or what it would be used for. Now, it looks to me like it might have been for a baby's bottle, for feeding babies, but it's very small, and it's made of green glass. Now, bottles for babies, I have seen them in green glass. I looked it up on the internet again, and I found some babies' bottles which were a green glass, but they were much bigger than this. Now, because it's got its end broken off, that may have given us a clue as to what it was for. But if you recognise that, leave a comment and tell me what you think that funny little bottle was used for. That's very curious. Now, these other items in here, this one looks a bit gruesome. It's like a pair of pliers. It's got handles here. Unfortunately, the chrome is wearing off a bit. It seems to have been chrome plated. And it's got a spring-loaded mechanism which springs it open like that and makes these two ends come together. Now when you squeeze it down, this piece on the middle here will slide across and keep this mechanism open. And you can't squeeze that back together. And you can do it so that it's right open like that. So it's a sort of a vice clamp arrangement. Now, I think I know what this is. I'm not 100% sure, so if you know different, then let me know. But I think this is actually for dentists. A very primitive dental mechanism for holding your jaw open. Now that may or may not be right, I don't know. But if you know any different, let me know. But I think that's a dental equipment. And the reason I think it's dental equipment, because there's two more pieces of equipment in this box, which, now I haven't cleaned these up much. I'm going to try and clean them a little bit more. But this has got a bit of rust on it. And this again looks to me like the sort of thing a dentist would use to look in your mouth when he's got it open with those pliers, and a mirror on there which has got a little bit of rust on it. But there's a mirror on there. Oh, the rust's come off now, which is good. I'm trying to get the rust off. I put some cleaner on there to try and clean this up, and the rust appears now to come off a little bit off that mirror. So there's a mirror on there, so that would be quite good for looking in your mouth. So these may be tools for a dentist to use. Now the other tools in here, this one is another pair of plier type things, and these are obviously for gripping something, and a very small groove inside there. Now that may well have been for grabbing hold of small teeth, perhaps in a child's mouth, I don't know. It's very small, so that may have been for gripping teeth and yanking them out. So this might again be dentist tools. Now I've got another one in here, and that's the last of the main tools in this thing. Now this one unfortunately is rusted really badly and is rusted closed. Now this is a little bit bigger than the first set of plier tools, and I may try and free that off, but that's gone really rusted up, so I can't free that one. But that again is what I think would be used by a dentist. So those are several dental tools. Now in this other little box here are several other tools which I'll take out and show you, and several small tools. But we'll start off by looking at this this box. Now this box is quite interesting. It's made of stainless steel, I would think. There's no markings on it. It's just got holes round. And the lid, which goes on, has also got holes round. Now, I've found out that if you arrange this lid in this direction and put the lid on, the holes in it match up. So there's holes through to the inside. Now I think, I'm not sure, and if you know any different, tell me, I think this is for sterilizing implements. I think if you were to put tools inside here and put this into boiling water and boil it up, the water would go in through the holes and sterilize or boil up this little box. And when you turn it the other way round, it closes off the holes so that whatever you've put in there would be sealed up and perhaps sterilized. Now again, I don't know whether that's what it was used for, but to me that could have been a sterilizing unit for sterilizing equipment. Now inside this are several corks which they haven't got any holes in, so they're really of not much interest. And there's a little bit of wood there that looks like a bit of, and what appears like a little dropper Now I got some of these on another video, which I think maybe for droppers, or I don't know, might have been used for something. And then there's a little wooden dowel, which looks like a pencil, but it's not a pencil. There's no lead inside there. So again, I'm not sure what that could have been used for. Now, the next little thing, there's a little plaster, medical, Evans Medical Limited, Spike, Liverpool. And it looks like 1 inch plaster for putting onto wounds or stuff like that. Now, it's made of tin, so it's obviously quite old, and so that's interesting. Now this tool, another little tool got in here, is a little paintbrush. Now it's a curious looking paintbrush. Now the stem of this thing doesn't look to me like plastic. I mean, it looks to me like it's some sort of quill. Now, whether it is a quill of a bird, I don't know. It certainly doesn't really resemble plastic. And on this end, it's got a little brush. And it's been bound up there on the end of this plastic or quill. I'm not quite sure what that is, what that's made out of. Now, back in the day, if you got a sore throat, the district nurse or somebody in the hospital would paint your throat with a mixture which I think was iodine. Now, I don't know whether it was, because they don't use it today, but I seem to recall that years ago, when you had a sore throat, an infected throat of some sort, they would use something like this, dipped in iodine solution, and they would paint your throat with it, down like that. Now, whether that was what this was used for, I don't know. Again, if you know any different, let me know. But that could have been an iodine brush used for painting the throat of patients who reported with a sore throat. Now, this next little item is in 2 parts, and it may well have been at one time in 1 part. I don't know. Now, this part's made out of rubber. It's a little bubble of rubber, and it's very strangely made. It isn't made in the way that you would normally imagine a rubber bubble to be made. Now, the rubber appears to have a stalk on that end, and it's got a hole in. But the curious thing about this, to me anyway, it's got a hole in this end. Got a small hole there. Now, when you squeeze it, air comes out of that hole, and presumably air comes out of that hole. I don't know whether that's blocked. I mean, it might be blocked up, but air would come out of both holes. Now, I don't know that if you squeeze that and put your finger over that hole, that would act as a suction. And that's why I think it may well be connected with this other little bit of mechanism, which again has got a rubber bit in the end of it, which has now gone very hard and not rubbery anymore. And it's a slightly different diameter to this one. Now, those two may have been connected together at one time. I don't know. So that would mean that this mechanism, with this bubbly glass end on it, possibly could be placed over a wound, or an abscess, or a boil. And by pressing this bubble and holding your finger over the end of there, you could create a vacuum inside here for pulling pus or some sort of liquid out of a boil. I don't know. Now, if you know what that was used for, and if it was part of the same thing, I don't know. I think they may have been together, but I can't be sure. So if you know any different, let me know. Now, I'm coming up to the last 2 items. And these 2 items, I've looked online, and I think these may well be either surgical tools, because if you open this is mother of pearl, by the way. These are most beautifully made of mother of pearl. And if you separate these 2 ends, you end up with a blade inside. Now, there's a blade inside there, and it shows signs that this was been heated up, quite hot, and it's very sharp still. So this could be sharpened as some kind of scalpel, or what more likely it is what they call a flume, a flame or a flume. Flume, flame, I don't know. And it's a surgical instrument. Again, to cauterize, cut open boils or ulcers or something. So it might be some sort of flume for doing that. And these two wings open out so that you can move that about. And it may have well been sterilized in that piece of equipment. Now the last one is another, what I think is a flame or flume. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it right. And this is made of most beautiful mother of pearl, or what I call, what do they call this stuff? They don't call it mother of pearl. It might come to me in a minute. Mother of pearl. Now it opens out a bit like a razor. And this is tortoiseshell. That's the name I'm trying to think of. This has got made, the handles of this are made of most beautiful tortoiseshell. Now you're not allowed to take tortoiseshell anymore. Now this opens out to form what I believe is a flame or flume. It's got a little shape on the end there. Now I believe that these were used for tapping, knocking down. You would put that on a vein in somebody's blood vessels, and you'd hit this end with something, and that would go into the vein for bloodletting. Now back in the day, they seemed to think that bloodletting was a thing that needed to be done to people with certain ailments. That bloodletting would cure it. Now they used to use leeches back in the day to suck blood out. But in more serious cases, where they needed to get a lot of blood out, they would actually bang this down into a vein and let blood come out of a patient for bloodletting. So I think that's what this tool is. Now I could be wrong, and if you know any different, again, let me know. But I think that's what they call a flame or a flume. And again, it'd be very sharp. And it's a beautifully made little instrument. It's got a bit rusty now. I'm going to try and polish it up. But I was so excited about finding these things again, I thought I'd make a little video on it and see if anybody out there can tell me exactly what these were used for. Now, whether they're veterinary tools or doctor's tools, I don't know. It looks a bit delicate for an animal. Now, I've seen these and they have several blades on, and they use them for bleeding horses and animals. So I think this might well be for human beings, that this little piece of apparatus was used. So that's as far as I've got with these, cleaning these tools up, which I've got back in my possession again after them being many years in storage. And I've got this piece of equipment brought back to me now. There were some other things which I may make videos on, but these were the medical ones, which I thought I'd do separately to the other things which I've got. And this is the first of a reminiscence videos, really, I suppose, of things that I've rediscovered, hidden away after many years. Now, there was a little bottle in here, which I haven't brought along, but I might show that again when I do my bottle videos. I've obviously took it out of this box before I brought it in, and I've left it. But what it was a bottle, and it had got the Royal Salop Infirmary on it. Now, and it said, please return to the infirmary. Now, the only infirmary I know of in and around where I live is in Shrewsbury, and it's the Royal Salop Infirmary, which is now a shopping centre. It's no longer a hospital, but it's in the centre of Shrewsbury, and it's called the Royal Salop Infirmary. And I think this bottle that I got came from there. Now, pity I didn't bring it, but I haven't got time now to go and fetch it. But I'll show it on another video. So if I do a video about bottles, which I've got a lot of bottles that I found again, and I may do a video on bottles, and I'll show it then. So for the moment, this is Grandad signing off as usual. And if you know any of these, what any of this equipment is, let me know. And I'll ask you once again to subscribe to my videos, and leave a like if you like this video, and perhaps leave a little comment. Until next time, this is Grandad signing off as usual and saying bye-bye now. Bye-bye.